This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Arrowgate, what a commanding performance. He won the Travers by 12 in a final time of 1 minute 59.36 seconds. The fastest Travers ever and a new track record.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. And Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border.
End of racing. Again, a little bit damp today. 3 of the turf races are off. The feature race at this point remains on. There's a $577,000 pick 6 carryover. Should be a fun day of racing again here at Saratoga on the Monday morning. Speaking of fun, kicking off the meet, kicking off the first Monday of the meet with our friend Andy Serling from the New York Racing Association. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning. How are you, Seth?
Very good. And as we complimented you on your suit as you came in, you said you were working layers today. I don't blame
I'm working
you.
layers. It's a little chilly out.
It is.
No question about it.
A little cool, but again, it's going to be a fun day. I mentioned the low rollers contest. I know you can't play, but I've been highly recommending that for a couple of years now.
You're like the king of that,
I
right?
love that. Yeah,
That's
I
great.
do love that. You got to think a little bit differently and play around, and I highly recommend that this afternoon. Pick 6, I know you're a pick 6 guy, but is it a 2 or 3 day carryover?
3. Nobody's hit at all.
I was double checking because I have to admit I'm not so much of a pick 6 player. I'm more into the pick 3s and the pick 4s. But if you are a pick 6 player, and today I may go in depending on where the scratches go.
Well, I mean, the truth is, first of all, we need the rain. The courses needed the rain. That's fine. So if it's going to rain for us, Monday's probably the least, the least of the evils. But it does probably make it more playable in some ways with scratches and stuff. And as you said, the 8th race is still on the turf for now. We'll see if it stays on. Hopefully it will. It's a stake race. We'll see how things work out, but it may make some fields a little bit more manageable. But it's not easy up there, as I think we've all seen. It's you push your way through these cars and you find a few winners. You play exactas, you play exotics. You get something. It's hard. The multis are particularly tough.
Before we get into some thoughts on the weekend and for today, I just want to tee you up a little bit to tout one of the best things at Saratoga, best things really all spring long, the Saratoga Live show, which was Belmont Live, obviously MSG, Fox Sports, and cable systems across the country as well. You're up here every day live. I said I had Chris Kay in on Saturday. I said it's a great way not only to reach the fans, but to kind of evangelize on some of the sports networks you're on, because you're getting sports fans who may not be regular fans to watch, and you guys are doing a great job. Thanks. And the team's kind of expanded and changed a little bit this year too.
Yeah, it has. I mean, last year Greg Wolf was hosting half the shows. He's hosting every day, and as he did at Belmont. Paula Duca's in. Rich Migliori left a few weeks before Saratoga started, and Paula Dukas joined us, and Gabby Gadette, of course, was here last year, but she's got to sort of reacclimate, and Gabby does an incredible job, and she's a huge addition to the team. She's going to be working with us now for 8 months during the year, and I couldn't be more happy. I just think she's tremendous, and Maggie and I are there, and Tom Amos joins us again on the weekend, so that's fun, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, we enjoy it. We're in 75 million homes, and there's a lot of talk about in the past about bringing racing, the way to bring racing to people and improve its sort of image or perception is to put into people's homes. Well, we're doing that, and no better place to do it than Saratoga, and we've obviously been blessed with some great racing this weekend as well.
And it's fun also. Between the races, you do a great job leading into the races and whatnot, but there's the time for those nice featurettes as well that are kind of fun and give some background.
Well, thanks.
Also, want to let you talking about fun and bringing people into the game and whatnot. I think you've accomplished what you tried to do with the radio show, which was kind of bring downtown to the track and the track to downtown. You kicked off this season last Thursday night. I was down there. Highly recommended for people to swing by the Parting Glass for Andy's radio show. Paul LaDuca, Rajiv, and Brad Cox kicked things off. A great inaugural edition, but again, that's every Thursday night down at the Parting Glass.
And you guys have been great sponsors of the show, and we appreciate that a lot. As well as Myra Betts, the sponsor, also got some newest sponsors this year, the Breeders' Cup sponsoring as well, and Daily Racing Form back on board. So it's nice to have that. It's nice to get support from the industry because, you know, it's not... It's a fun show, and we had a great crowd for the first Thursday.
The opening night is standing room only.
And, it's in the Parting Glass. It's on ESPN 104.5 radio. I think it's only going to be on one more day live, but it's always on Saturday and Sunday mornings repeated, so you can listen to it there. We tape them as well. Ernie Munich comes down and tapes it, and so it's available on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad people have enjoyed it, and it's what we always wanted to do.
Yeah, highly recommend it. Again, I try to make as many as I can and have a little dinner down there and watch, and very entertaining.
Kendrick Carmouche, Dale Romans, and
nice.
Norm Cassie.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good lineup.
On Thursday night.
Coming up this Thursday. All right, let's talk a little of the weekend. Again, it was a big weekend, 32,000 announced each day. Yesterday, obviously a little inflated with the cap spinners.
146,000.
But it was a nice weekend weather-wise as well. But, boy, the racing. Let's go back to Saturday. The feature there, the Grade 1 Diana, and a nice ding-dong battle down the stretch with Lady Eli getting it done. I led into the weekend saying she's one of the story horses and will be one of the story horses of the meet. She's the number 3 horse here and gets it done, as they say, in a ding-dong battle by a head.
Yeah, she's the story, but it was a terrific race as well. I mean, Antonova finished third, ran very well. Don't forget, she ran off almost the 16th of a mile, breaking to the gate. Lady Eli had broken through, but not as major. Kadura, the pace setter, who just lost the race, she ran very well. Gramos did a great job with her. It was a thrilling race, and Lady Eli's just a great story. Where is she 9 for 12 now with 3 seconds? She's never run a race where she hasn't shown up in a big way. You know, nose loss in the Breeders' Cup last year, that tough loss coming off the layoff and the injury last year in the Boston Spa where she ran so well, losing by a nose to Dickinson in the first start this year. I mean, when she loses, she just narrowly loses. She's a wonderful racehorse, and it's just a tribute to so much that's good about horse racing.
Yeah, again, it's one of the good stories over the past year or so, and continues to be so. Now she's back at the top of her game, you would have to say, off of that race. Yesterday, the Coaching Club American Oaks, Abel Tasman, you know, with Bob Baffert after the Saturday he had to come back and watch that stretch duel. That had to be a little grueling for him. But again, just gets it done over a late. The stewards took a look at it. I'll ask you, I was standing with Steve Bick in the winner's circle. Looking at it, I said it was like 50-50. I would have been surprised with them going either way. He laughed at me and said it was more like 20-80, that they weren't going to do anything. I thought they could have gone either way on this one, but I had no argument with the way it went. They left Abel Tasman up, and she's clearly now the leader in the clubhouse in the 3-year-old filly division.
Yeah, well, she was lead going into the race, and now she has an almost insurmountable lead. She should have come down, in my opinion. The stewards made the consistent call, and the public cries for consistency. Our stewards are consistent. I also consistently disagree with them, but that doesn't make me right and them wrong. It's a difference of opinion. I think the herding is dangerous, and I think it needs to stop. They don't agree. That's their philosophy. They're the stewards. They're in charge. And once again, people clamor for consistency. Steve's right. That's a consistent call that they do not take down, just as the inquiry in the Diana. Now, that one, that was less clear, and it was a little difficult to tell. Obviously, Lady Eli, in my opinion, was coming in. But I don't think that herding is understood as well as it could be by people. This one, to me, was a clear-cut takedown. Mike Smith just tightened it up, pushed him into the rail, probably made contact, and should have come down. And Elate would have won if he didn't do that. That's my opinion, but people disagree, and the stewards, like I said, they're consistent in their calls, and that's all you can really ask for. Having said that, Abel Tasman ran the best race, even if she had lost the race, even if she had come down. She ran the best race, and Mike Smith made a daring move. If he had lost, people would have called him an idiot. He won, so they're calling him brilliant. I'm going to say it's somewhere in between. I give him a lot of credit for sensing pace wasn't actually that slow, to be honest, because so many people were concerned about it being a slow pace. But sensing that someone might be able to get away in the front end and making a decisive move, I will never knock a jockey for that. But it was a daring move, and if it backfired, people would have called him a goat. So the same people that want to call him geniuses should maybe remember maybe he wasn't so brilliant, and maybe more importantly, he wouldn't have been so stupid had he lost the race. Sometimes people get caught up in inches. It's a game of inches, and wins and losses are over-exaggerated.
Yeah, I kind of like the aggressiveness on the back stretch because I don't like to see him run away. And as you said, they were legitimate fractions. They weren't blazing, though, but I appreciate that. But even in defeat, I thought Elate, who showed so much promise early, finally kind of lived up to it with the second place finish that I thought was pretty good.
I think she's going to be okay in time. She's sort of been her own worst enemy, but Belmont's going to get the best out of her, and I think you're going to hear more from the late. But Abel Tasman, she was really good yesterday. She's a terrific filly. And Bob Baffert, I know he gets a lot of credit, but I don't think he gets too much credit. The guy's a great trainer, and his horses delivered time after time after time.
All right, got a couple of minutes left. Let's get some ideas for this afternoon. Again, 3 of the turf races are off. The featured Caress stays on as of right now. Let's take a look at race number 3 today. Allowance non-winners of 1 other than going 7. I put Dancing All Night on top, kind of looking at the maiden break or 2 back and thinking she got some education last time at a non-winners at 1 level. So for me, it was 4, 5, 2, and 1. What did you see?
I have the 4 third. Her last race was pathetic. I don't think she had a perfect trip and was awful. But she ran well on a sloppy track in her debut, way against the track at Churchill, which may help her. I like Dawn the Destroyer, who I thought really stepped her game up first time for Kieran McLaughlin. It's such a good day and opening day. And speaking of, this was a crazy non-DQ in my opinion, because she was dangerously interfered with the stretch in that race. John Velasquez came out 6 paths, and I think Johnny realized, it wasn't, he was trying to come out, I think, towards the horse that ended up beating him, and I don't think he realized how close Joelle was between horses. But I thought she ran well in there. I'd put her on top, but Libby's Tail is also very dangerous. Near the 5-1, little 4, 6 likes a wet track maybe. Tricky race in a wet track, but I like Dawn the Destroyer.
7th race today, optional claimer, non-winners at 2 other than. I went 2, 4, 5, and 6. I put Blue Prize on top. And I said it earlier on the handicapping show, these South Americans, I always say, I want to watch one. Well, I watched one. I thought the 1 was pretty good. So Blue Prize on top over Josephine's Moment, who comes in with a 4-race win streak. 2, 4, 5, and 6 for me.
No Spanish Harlem for you?
No.
Really? I like Spanish Harlem.
Okay. All right.
I'd rather have a horse that's at least a little more forwardly placed. I have no argument Blue Prize, who I picked second here. I think she ran very well. Nacho Correa's her trainer. If you're not familiar with him, he's a terrific trainer. She got left a little bit in that race. She made a nice run. She was good. But I prefer Spanish Harlem here, who I think likes a wet track. I know it was a 3-horse field, 3 back. She was the biggest overlay in the history of racing, by the way, at 4:20 in that race. There was one horse that couldn't run, and the horse that made favorite couldn't beat her. I don't even think she ran that badly in the Mother Goose, to be honest. Wait till you see Unchained Melody up here in a few weeks in Alabama. Yeah. It's a serious filly. I like Spanish Harlem here. I think she'll be forwardly placed. Danny Gargan's off to a good start. I like her chances.
Finally, let's take a quick look at the Caress. Still on the grass at this point, and on the grass, I thought Pretty Perfection was a little bit interesting. And I'd be interesting to see if Nick Juarez makes it into ride, because I've been kind of a fan of his for a couple of seasons, so I found that intriguing. For me, it was 6, 5, 2, and 9.
Okay. I like the 12 in here. I think that Fairpoint will benefit from cutting back to 5.5 furlongs. That's where she does her best running. She's been forced to be too close to the pace in her recent races because of a lack of pace. Now, pace is an issue here, but I think if they run this race in the turf, the pace becomes a little less of an issue, maybe, and it'll help her. I like her. Mississippi Delta, I have no knock on her. She was terrific winning the Intercontinental, and she's been effective going shorter. So she's been effective going a little shorter. So I'm going to hope for the best with her. I went 12, 2, 9.
All right.
Marcella.
All right, very good. So we have a face-off there with me in a totally different direction.
It's not bad for you to disagree with me.
Well, no,
not exactly. It's not easy to pick winners for any of us.
I've been chasing the last couple of days myself a little bit. All right, Andy, as always, we appreciate the visit, helping us kick off here on opening weekend. We'll be cycling you in over the weeks to come. Also, The Parting Glass on Thursday nights, highly recommended. And tune in on MSG and Fox Sports as well. Andy, again, appreciate the visit.
Thanks, Seth. Love being here. Appreciate your support.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, Hildebrandt, Friends of Sanford Stud. They ran the Sanford this weekend. We'll get a little update on what they're up to, preserving some of the buildings in Amsterdam. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Whether you're winding down from a day at the track or gearing up for the night, celebrate summer with live music, fabulous food, and the best happy hour in Saratoga. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system. Never get shut out again.
Don't miss the 2017 Thorough Fan Annual Awards Brunch with special guest speaker Donna Barton Brothers. This annual event is Saturday, August 12th at the Embassy Suites in Saratoga Springs, New York. Go to thoroughfan.com for tickets and information.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Relax with a signature cocktail or one of our world-class wine selections while enjoying indoor or outdoor dining for lunch and dinner. The Diamond Club at the Embassy Suites, winner of the 2016 and 2017 Wine Spectator Award of Excellence.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Monday morning. As I said before the break, on Saturday they ran the Sanford, which as an Amsterdam guy myself, I am well tuned to the Sanford family and their history in the game. It was about the turn of the last century where they became prominent right through the middle part of the century and beyond. We commemorate them with the Sanford Stakes. They had a great exhibit over in the Racing Hall of Fame last year. And this is all local history, because when I was a kid, the Sanford Farm up on Route 30 outside of Amsterdam, I remember seeing some horses work out on that training track they had there, the indoor training track, all the great buildings. Well, progress marches on. Part of it has now become a Walmart and a Price Chopper, and as I say, progress marches on, so can't really knock that, I suppose, but some of the buildings still remain, and the Friends of Sanford Stud Farm are trying to preserve some of those, and one of the main characters that is behind Friends of Sanford Stud joins us this morning, our friend Sam Hildebrandt. Good morning, Sam.
Thank you. Good morning. Nice to be here.
Happy to have you. And what is your title exactly with Friends of Sanford?
I'm once again president.
Okay, very good. And it was just this past spring, I swung by one of your springtime meeting, and I was happy to do it and get some good food at an Amsterdam establishment as you guys got together and talked a little bit about your plans and whatnot, and invited me to talk a little bit about racing and the tie-in with Sanford as well. But it looks like, you had a nice full house there, so you got a lot of people involved.
It was a nice evening. Nice evening, and a lot of great comments on you. And the term that most people walked away with that night was "in the weeds."
Yeah. I tossed that out there, and we were referring to some of the breeding. And while we're on that subject, talking about Sanford breeding and the history of that, and as I say, they were prominent. It's funny, tip people in, because you were talking to me, I met you over there on Sanford Day on Saturday, and you were talking about how prominent going back in the field in this year's Sanford, how prominent the Sanford breeding was.
All 7 entries had Sanford blood coursing through their veins. So it was that's one of the crazy things I do is I'll take a card, I'll look at it, and I can probably get 80% of the horses on a given day at the track have Sanford blood in them. And it's a long and deep line. Hemlock and Nasovian was the beginning of that. So,
and give people a little bit of the background that you have with the farm. Your dad was a jockey, and I guess it would be fair to say he was the stable jockey for Sanford during a time?
He was the contract rider for Sanford from 1937 until he retired he called it retirement in 1947. Won his first race right here at Saratoga, 1941, August 8th, the day after his birthday. And he loved Sanford, and even beyond his retirement, we were there almost every Saturday and Sunday visiting Ray Pischel, who was the farm manager. And if you don't know who Ray Pischel is, you don't know Sanford. He's right up there with Howie Hughes. So.
And talk a little bit about how a local guy originally got tied in with Sanford.
My father?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what happened is Sanford owned extensive properties. At that time, they had about 1,100 acres, and it went all the way down to Van Dyke Avenue. Well, my dad lived on Van Dyke, and his nickname in school was Shrimp. He weighed 87 pounds as a senior. And so the stable guys were out, they'd be out in the pastures with the horses, and they'd be working some or just out there with them. And they used to say, hey, Shrimp, you ought to come be a jockey. Hey, Shrimp, you ought to be. And his teacher talked him out of it. She said, you get your high school first and then go back. And the day after he graduated from high school, he went on a 2-day fishing trip to Lake Pleasant, came back and signed with Sanford as the contract rider. And the rest is history, as they say.
Major stakes on his resume?
Well, he won the Monmouth. He set the track record at Monmouth back in '47. He's got had a very successful campaign down in Hialeah when Hialeah was up and running. That was a great track. He had the I'm trying to think of the names of the races now, but he had a very good meet down there, and he had, I believe, his win percentage, win plate show. I think his win percentage was 42. Which is pretty remarkable for a small town guy.
Yeah.
But he raced a lot of the smaller tracks too. He was at Delaware and places like that. So he was around.
And again, he was a local guy. This all ties back into Amsterdam. So if you're a horse racing fan, it's intriguing. If you don't know the story, to have this much prominence and this much racing history right in this area. And a great way to learn more about it, if you don't know, is to go to your website. There's a good story written by Barbara Livingston, our friend.
Beautiful.
Not only is she a great photographer, she writes really well.
Beautiful.
Also, it's www.stanfordstunfarm.org. You guys also have a Facebook page with the website. You can find out some of the history. It is rich history. We're now trying to preserve some of that via your organization with the remaining structures on the property. Talk a little bit about the mission of the Friends of Sanford Stud.
Well, basically the mission is just to preserve what little we have left. The town of Amsterdam owns the buildings, and we have a fantastic working relationship with the town of Amsterdam. They've let the Friends pretty much go in and make the suggestions and move where we think we should be moving with the structure and the improvements. And we have yet to have any concerns expressed by the town. So they've been very, very supportive. And eventually this is going to be a visitor center. We would hopefully be able to open this to the public also for functions at some point in time, so there could be a meeting and gathering place. But it was a magnificent facility, and what we have left is still magnificent. The last time we met was 2011. And what we've done since that time is restored the saddling ring, or it's also called an equipment area, and some people call it the East Entry. It doesn't matter what it is. We've completely restored that.
Would that be on the left side of that picture?
That is, nope, yes, that's it. That's the one on the left side, and that's been completely restored. The building has been completely painted, has been stabilized structurally. It's probably as good as it's ever been. Brand new roof. We restored the kitchen in full, 90% I should say. We've added a forced air heating system, which it never had, and we've upgraded the electrical system to a 400 amp entrance, which is probably 200 times more than what they had before. They had a small fuse box for everything. And the Medway Charitable Trust of Charleston, South Carolina, which is part of the Sanford family, has provided us with about $67,000 of those dollars. We've completely restored the small barn, which some people call the Mare Foal barn, but what those small barns were was after the mare dropped her foal, she would have a stall, a private room with only she and her foal, and they had their own paddock. They were spoiled. He doted. Stephen doted on these animals. And so that's been completely restored, and that's courtesy of the Alfred Z. Solomon Charitable Trust here in Saratoga. And some of the other things we've done is it was a 1.5-year job, but we got the site listed on the national and state registers of historic sites. which is that was really an accomplishment. That was a big feather in our cap. And what we're looking at now is we're looking at focusing on the tack room, which needs the structural repairs have been done, but it needs a good cosmetic job painting. Rick Gates has replaced some of the windows already. He's one of our workhorses down there, really great guy. And we're looking right now into the preliminary work for water and sewer so that we can have a functional kitchen and have bathrooms, which will increase its usability by the public. So, and we still have stalls available for adoption. I would love to see somebody adopt the tack room in honor of Ray Pischel, because he was just a fixture there. And then we also have something called light keepers, and for $400 they can adopt a light fixture in the barn. For anything that they do like this, they get their name on a very, very large plaque in the broodmare barn, which in and of itself is just a beautiful architectural piece.
Was that the shot we saw with the high ceiling?
That was the big one.
That's the
big barn. That's the broodmare barn. That had a training ring on the west end.
Yeah, there.
That's right. You're looking at the training ring through the alley. That's called the alley with the stalls off to the side.
And the training ring was that when I was a kid? I'd drive up and it had it looked like the indoor track.
No, the track is where the parting glass grill, or not the parting glass, the recovery grill is, and that's where that was.
And I don't remember. This is a postcard I pulled up on the internet. I do not remember the viewing stand. That must have disappeared long before I was a kid.
When I was a kid, the last I saw of that was the Stallion Barn, which is the beautiful barn behind that. The last that was left that I remember, and that would be probably 1953 or 54, was just a concrete slab that sat on. But there are some gorgeous pictures that I have by my book, Hurricane. There are some gorgeous pictures, and it shows Stephen and Laddie and Gertrude and the whole family up there with watching the matinee races, which was a great deal, because on Saturday, usually the last Saturday or first Saturday in July, they would walk the horses over here to Saratoga, 27 miles for the meet, and right across the street is where Sanford Complex was, which is now owned by NYRA, and people like Bill Mott and Linda Rice have rented that, so it's a very, 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 very nice place.
Yeah, it's, as I say, a great story. If you're not familiar with it, more information on the website as well. Is your book available on the website?
No, my book is available. If they want to get a hold of my book, right now we're changing things around. My book is available at sanfordstudfarm@gmail.com. It was available at Lyrical Ballad. I don't know if he's still got some down there or not, but they can always contact me.
If people go to the website, is the Gmail address clickable there? Contact?
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Or they can go to sanfordstudfarm.org, and that information will get to me. But the direct route for me is sanfordstudfarm@gmail. That goes directly to me. And the other thing we can't forget is we have a raffle going on, a $10,000 raffle. First prize is $10,000. Second prize is $2,000. Third and fourth are $1,000 apiece. Fifth and sixth are $500, and only 300 tickets are printed. So your odds are 50 to 1, which is a lot better than a dollar scratch off. The tickets are $100, but again, they're limited to 300, and it includes a function at the broodmare barn inside. There'll be hors d'oeuvres and stuff and a cash bar. It's going to be a nice gathering night. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And fill us in. Again, we just saw a shot of the interior there, and I've been to a couple of functions that you guys have done in the barns, and I think people would be amazed. And again, the Sanford family, for folks who don't know, they own one of the carpet mills in Amsterdam.
Absolutely.
And Amsterdam, of course, as I grew up as a kid, it was known as the carpet capital of the world at one time. So there were some business magnates, so to speak, that had plenty of money, and I think that is reflected when you walk in these barns and you see how beautiful they are inside and how well treated these horses are.
Well, for instance, the jumping horse barn. If you were to go in the jumping horse barn today, I dare say you wouldn't see this anyplace else. The stalls were lined with 1-inch thick cherry, and because cherry is so hard, each one had to be hand drilled to nail it. Because if you know anything about the wood, if you nailed it, it would split. As I said, he doted on his horses. He just loved his animals, and he didn't get into this for a profit. I don't think he made any money on the farm. He probably had a write-off for a few years until the IRS said you can't do this anymore. But it was It was purely for relaxation. He had ulcers or dyspepsia. His doctor said buy a little farm. So he bought a 60-acre farm that turned into 1,100 acres, and I don't know how many horses came out of that, walked to Saratoga, and the bloodline is just so wide and deep. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've had some Sanford horses inducted into the Hall of Fame, particularly in the old timers section. What was the one just within the past couple of years?
Clifford.
Yeah, Clifford. Yeah,
Clifford was had a magnificent record. He raced 60 times and finished out of the money twice.
Yeah, and he was inducted in, as I say, an old timer
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a magnificent horse, and he stood at stud at Sanford, and he produced some really, really good runners.
Yeah.
Really good runners. And Molly Brandt just had her name put over on the Walk of Fame, which is a real tribute to the Sanfords.
And that then ties in also. Molly Brandt, it triggered the horse. A lot of the horses were named for local features, local personalities.
Oh, yeah.
Molly Brandt goes back, of course, to the colonial times,
French
essentially.
and Indian War, I believe it was, right. And there was, he had Mohawk, he had Fort Hunter. Fort Hunter was a good running horse. He won the Kentucky or the Canadian Derby in 1917, I believe. And then he was donated to the Army, and he was actually the lead horse in Woodrow Wilson's inauguration parade. So, but there's a lot of rich history there.
Yeah, and some of the history, we just saw the silks, and that was part of the exhibit at the museum last year. A nice Sanford Farm. Hopefully folks got over there. It was a nice exhibit.
The silks,
kind of looking at the silks.
The silks
and gold, and you're wearing
yes,
it today.
I have them on. But silks it's my understanding that silks are the second, there you go, purple and gold, the second longest continuously used silks licensed by the Jocks Association. So. And
it was interesting, when I was meeting with you guys in the tent last Saturday, you guys were having lunch, and one of the Sanford family who was going to present the trophy came by, and he was wearing the purple and gold tie, and I said, "Oh, you got the family colors." And then I said, being an Amsterdam guy myself and playing football, purple and gold were the high school colors, and I speculated, and you knew that the high school followed Sanford. Sanford had the silks and the colors for the farm, and they were such a rich part of Amsterdam history that purple and gold became the colors.
And in the olden days, when John and Will, who were Stephen's sons, they raced, and each of them had purple and gold. Their differential was they each had a different colored cap.
Okay, all right.
One was gold, one was red. The one you saw there was red. That was John's. And then the other one was black. So they each had their own. But the story on how they got into that is another one too. That was the kids really thought they pulled a fast one on Dad, but they didn't. He was a very, very smart man. So.
Again, we had the Sanford this past Saturday, and that's why I pulled you in. I thought it was a great tie-in to the race that commemorates the local family. But, the history goes beyond that. Again, it's worth visiting the website and reading what Barbara Livingston had to say. And there's plenty more that you can find on the internet as well, and pick up your book perhaps also. But do want to remind people, if they have seen the Holly Hughes Stakes on the New York racing calendar, I think we have a picture there. Holly Hughes was a the stable trainer.
He was in the Hall of Fame, and that's another area right there. What a guy he was. And the interesting thing about the trainers is that Preston Birch was also a trainer for Sanford, and Holly Hughes was, and they're both in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know any other stable that has two trainers in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It's kind of a distinction. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So.
And again, before we let you go, allure us again to the raffle and how people can find more information.
All right.
Potentially
the raffle is $100 a ticket. I have them with me all the time. I have a Suburban. I'll fill them up. But the first prize is $10,000. Second prize is $2,000. Two-thirds at $1,000 a piece, and a fourth and fifth at $500 a piece. All the proceeds go to the improvements to the farm. Especially, right now we're working on the broodmare barn, and we're hopeful that we can have this open to the public so that they'll be able to use it for functions in the next 2 to 3 years.
And again, we have a great audience of savvy racing fans out here. If people are maybe interested in finding out if they want to participate as a volunteer or whatnot,
absolutely,
they can get in touch with you through the website. Or again, you guys have a Facebook page as well.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, and don't forget, we have stalls available. We still have 8 stalls available for adoption. We have, I think, 20 lights available in the Lightkeeper program. $400. Any of these things, you get your name on a huge plaque that's right there in the middle of the broodmare barn, and all the money goes toward the improvements to the farm.
Sounds good. Again, visit the website, visit the Facebook page, learn more about some very rich local racing history. Sam Hildebrandt from the Friends of Sanford Stud, we appreciate the visit this morning, and good luck going forward. If people go to the Facebook page, I'm assuming they can keep up with events.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything in particular coming up in the near future?
Well, the next big thing we have is this drawing, which is the 14th of September, and that's a function at the barn.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good opportunity to come out and see some 1800 architecture. That barn is now 142 years old. So
I would highly recommend just swinging by
a lot of post and beam going on in there.
The history of the place.
One last thing, I want to give a shout out to Teresa Gennaro, my dear friend,
and
a great journalist. Thinking of you all the time.
Yeah, she helps us here get guests, and so we're a big fan of Teresa ourselves. All right, Sam, again,
Seth,
appreciate the
thank
visit.
you.
Good
Thanks
luck
so
going
much.
forward with the organization.
Thank you very much.
All right, just hang there for a moment, and we'll go to a break. When we come back, our friend Bill Gallo from the National Steeplechase Association, they're kicking off their season starting Wednesday and Thursday up here at Saratoga. We'll get an update right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Witnessed a felony.
On this one, excuse me, while I can feel it on my. Bill made a comment that there are elephant-sized mosquitoes out here, and as we came back, I had one land on my face. I didn't want to have the intravenous go in and suck out a pint of my blood. Happy to be back here on Racing Across America on a Monday morning. We're a couple of days away from kicking off the steeplechase season up here at Saratoga. I've been a fan of the jumpers for years and years. I think it's a lot of fun. So no better time to bring in one of the big guys with the National Steeplechase Association, Bill Gallo. Good morning, Bill. Director of Racing is your title, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And good morning to you, and thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. As I say, I'm a huge fan of the jumpers, have been for years. I think they add to the pageantry and fun of Saratoga. Folks get dicey about handicapping the steeplechase runners. I say just take a look and try it a few times. You'll find out it's not much different than handicapping them on the main track, and I think that plays out a lot where I don't think it's, the percentage of favorites and whatnot that win in long shots, I don't think it's that much different than the flat side.
It really is, and in fact, our favorites win at a greater percentage. It's what you have here in Saratoga too. It's not a mystery. We have a lot of horses that come back. We have horses that come back year in and year out. Our horses, mainly all of our horses, but the fillies are geldings. Very rarely do we run a colt or a full horse. But you said it best. It's just like handicapping a flat race, particularly now with the new configuration. And I point this out often to people that do ask about handicapping angles, but with the new configuration where we do not jump the last fence in the race, that's a critical element in a handicapping a jump race, a modern day jump race at Saratoga. What it means very simply is speed. You've got a horse that has to travel over the ground rapidly from the 3/8 pole home.
And give us a little update on what the Saratoga schedule is going to look like this year.
Similar, but some nuances to it. I think it's a big improvement. I worked with Martin Pans on it, and he had some great suggestions. We've taken our Grade 1 races and we've separated them by 4 weeks instead of 3 weeks, which we traditionally did. So the AP Smithwick, that's why it's so early. It's in the first week of jumping on the first Thursday. And 4 weeks later, we come back with the Grade 1 New York Turf Riders. We've also hooked up the novice races, which are our first-year horses. It's another stakes race. Our younger Grade 1 horses to be. It's a nice division of horses, and we're going to put we hooked those 2 races up with the Grade 1, so they'll be in the first week and then 4 weeks later. So I think it's a better chance of filling the races. It's a total of 10. We take a couple of Thursdays off in the middle, which Martin suggested, and I think was a great suggestion. But I feel fairly comfortable about a 10-race program, and our horsemen just, they're really looking forward to running up here.
Yeah, it's got to be fun playing on the big stage. Oh, I say playing on the big stage, and I have to admit I have not gotten out. I want to, but some of these race meets that you guys put on with no betting, those are big stages too. I mean, you guys get big crowds at some of these events that are held during the year. Out there is kind of, out in a field someplace with undulating courses, and I watch and I hear and I read the replay. I got to get to some of those because it seems like, there's no betting, but it's a pretty big party.
It is that. It is a party, and depending on where we go, we start in the spring, and we race all spring up and down the East Coast. We start in the warm weather, and we work our way north, and we take a little summer break, and we go to parks. We're preparing for Saratoga. We have our Saratoga program, and then back on the race meet schedule for the fall. So September through November. There are some big stages, though. Far Hills is this year is offering $800,000 in purses the third Saturday in October. It's our championship day. A lot of our horses are championship type horses prepped here at Saratoga and at Belmont in September.
And is there betting at Far Hill? One of them has betting. Is it Far Hill that has the betting?
Well, Fair Hill has had betting. Fair Hill in Maryland. That's our home base. And Virginia now has betting for the Virginia Gold Cup and the International Gold Cup. Far Hills is about to get betting. It's been approved. They're working out some details. If they don't have it this year, for sure they'll have it next year.
And Fair Hill's the one that I think is undergoing some expansion renovation to really put improvements there.
Yeah, it's called the Fair Hill Project, and they're going to make a presentation to our board up here in Saratoga, and we're really, really excited about that to make, hopefully, they're going to renovate the turf course for one, irrigate it for two, and then we're also hopefully trying to set up a training ground, a steeplechase training center there.
Nice. And fill us in a little bit also on, as we talked about some of the meets, there's no betting and whatnot, but you move around a little bit to places like, I know there's some steeplechase at Parks, and Belmont's had steeplechase races, and of course Saratoga. How do you, as the director of racing, work with the racing office at these racetracks when those are the places you're racing?
We work intimately with them. Entries come through me. I'm in the racing office here, and we just put it right through the Encompass system, and we're part of the regular program here at NYRA.
And again, the Smithwick kicks off this weekend, and I pulled up a replay of some of the action from earlier this year with a horse that's not going to be in the Smithwick, but I think, and I'll ask if you agree, Scorpiancer, and we have a replay here of the Iroquois where Scorpiancer is going to be a pretty easy winner. Is he the leader in the clubhouse at this point on the steeplechase side of things?
He's our top horse for sure, and this was a very dominating performance at Iroquois in May. He's on the shelf right now, but he'll be back in the fall hopefully. He's a very, very nice horse, owned by Bruton Street USA, our top owner at the moment. He's impressive for sure.
And let's talk on the human side of things. Jack Fisher currently pretty clearly the leading trainer, certainly as far as races won. And my man Jonathan Shepard's sitting in second as far as races won. We're hoping Jonathan can start the streak again this year, maybe with a win on the jump side this week. We'll see how that plays out. And on the riders' side, races won. Darren Nagel over Kieran Norris and Ross Garrity.
That's our group. I mean, Fisher's the dominant trainer for sure. He has been for the last 5 or 6 years. He's kind of taken over for Shepard in that regard, although Jonathan, he keeps ticking away. Yeah. And as you just mentioned, he's particularly keen on winning races at Saratoga and starting that new streak. As far as the riders are concerned, we have a little bit of an issue. We've got 3 of our top riders on the sidelines. We had some injuries this spring. Everybody's is getting healthy, but our leading rider from last year, Kieran Norris, he's hoping to ride in the mid to latter part of this meet, but he had an injury in May. Patty Young had a more serious injury, and he's out. He'll be out for quite some time, but he's doing miraculously well. Nice. And then we had Willie McCarthy actually at Parks, took a spill, a horse that didn't fall, but he came off the horse, and Willie is coming back from minor injuries, and he should be back in the fall.
Yeah, we'll root for those guys. Always root for those guys when something like that happens, and hope they get back sooner rather than later. I was going to say last year was it was last year. You had the good story on the jockey side with the kid who was riding well, but left the jump game to go to the Marines.
Yes, that was Scorpio Answer's regular rider, Connor Hanking, a wonderful young man. He did go through the Marine Corps program, and he's going to be an officer, and he looks good, and he's a lot bigger than he was. He's a nice young man. He's got a very bright future, not in jump racing.
Yeah, no, that was a fun story. I mean, good, because it wasn't like he was a second string kind of rider. He was riding pretty well, but he chose his path in life, and so good luck to him. All right, coming up this week, Wednesday and Thursday, some steeplechase action. Get some opinions from you coming up on Wednesday. It's the Kaiser. As you say, this is one of those novice. And again, for people who don't follow closely, what does a novice event mean?
We set a date. Horses that have not won prior to a certain date, it's always the first day of our season. March 1st of 2016 is the eligibility for this year's novices. So you can run through conditions, and you can be a multiple winner and remain in that group of novices. It's worked for us for about 20 years. It's one of the, they do it in Europe, and we mimicked what they did in Europe. It's been really good for us. So you pick up weight as you graduate. The horses here that are going to participate are pretty much it's a non-winners of 3. That's really what it looks on paper. There were 7 horses in the race. 6 of them are never won 3s, and there's 1 never won 2 that Elizabeth Boss is running. No wonder off the maiden win. But so that's what it typically is. You can identify some really nice horses for the future, though.
And Jack Fisher has some runners in here. Arch Kingsley, who I don't think jumps on the back of the horses anymore in the afternoon. It was a couple of years ago that he was still popping on to maybe win a race with a horse he trained, but he's got one in here. Moscato, certainly coming off of a couple of wins for Jack Fisher, attracts some attention. What are your thoughts, if you're going to give maybe some ideas out there to people who don't follow as closely on Wednesday and the Kaiser?
The top 3 in numerical order would be Show Court the 4 and Surprising Soul the 5, and as you say, Moscato. They're all off of wins. Surprising Soul's 3 in a row, and he did it all this spring. Show Court won one of our novice stakes early in the season for Kingsley, the Carolina Cup, and that's where he's based, and that was a very impressive win. And he just prepped on the flat at Parks, 1.5 miles on the turf. And then once again, if people are looking for some handicapping savvy, I think it's a good idea to look at some of these flat races leading into a jump race. Shepard did it for years and years. Yeah. This particular horse looks very, very impressive doing what he did at Parks, 1.5 miles. It really tightened him up. I think he's going to get a little school into him tomorrow up here. Arch called me this morning. So Show Court certainly should put on a good show.
Elizabeth Voss also coming out of the race down at flat race down at Parks. And
right.
I always say you got to watch at some point in the meet. One of these steeplechase trainers will come in with a horse that is steeplechase meant up here and try the flat. And maybe get it done at a little bit of a price. Yeah, always got to pay attention to those guys. Tommy Voss used to do that quite often.
Back in the old days, they flip-flopped quite a bit, and you know, it was a good technique.
Let's go to Thursday, the Smithwick, as you say, a little earlier this year, $150,000 up for grabs, and it's a grade 1, but it is a prep for the turf riders, essentially, correct?
Well, it always historically has been a prep for it, and as I explained to Martin, it's basically the same group of horses. So I'm not sure they're prepping at $150,000, being a grade 1. It was actually bumped from 125 to 150 this year, and it's a genuine grade 1. These same horses will come back, particularly with a 4-week gap.
All right, and nice race coming up on Thursday. Skutik attracts my attention a little bit. Balance the budget comes out of a try on the flat, but the jump races before that were pretty good. Modem comes in from Ireland. Mr. Hot Stuff for Jack Fisher is the name that folks may be a little bit familiar with. He was pulled up in the Iroquois, but certainly he's got some back class and Fisher in his camp that makes you kind of tilt in that direction potentially. Diplomat, I find intriguing. Smithwick, what are some of your thoughts if you're going to toss him out there for folks?
Well, you talk about Mr. Hot Stuff and you talk about back class. I mean, he goes way back. 4 years ago, he won the race here at Saratoga. He's an absolutely spectacular looking horse. If you get a chance, just look at him in the paddock. He is a beautiful specimen. And beyond that, though, the horse actually ran in the Derby. I think it was the 2009 Derby. It would have been 8 years. He's 11 now, so it would have been 8 years ago. But he's got some great back class. This particular race is a handicap, as is the Turf Riders. So if you look at the weights, obviously you're going to see what my opinion is. And I work off of, I work individually as a handicapper, but I have a group that helps me now. They assign ratings to winners over hurdles, and we have a ratings list, so I'm influenced by those ratings, and certainly in the order the horses run. And then I look at a specific race with a specific group of horses like this at a specific racetrack. So the weights are indicative of how I see the race setting up, or certainly trying to make the race as fair as possible and lure the biggest field. 11 horses in a grade 1. That's pretty good for us. So I'm very pleased with that. If it were not a handicap, it would be very difficult to get field size here. So we keep them as handicaps. We draw in a horse like Diplomat at the bottom, 138 pounds. He's a horse that won up here. He won and was actually claimed by Newman Racing, and they still own the horse. They're very pleased with him. He just had a nice flat prep at Parks. So I can make a case from top to bottom.
Yeah, and I didn't mention Portrait, and I think that's one that people have to pay attention to too. And you've kind of alluded to it, but a horse like Skutik at 7 and Portrait at 8, Mr. Hot Stuff at 11. It's worth mentioning, you know, we always talk about retirements and second careers. That's one of the benefits of the steeplechase racing. It keeps a lot of these horses on the track and racing and making some money and earning their keep and running well.
If you're a horse coming off the racetrack and you want a nice home, it's not such a bad idea to become a steeplechase horse. Our horsemen are terrific horsemen. They take wonderful care of their horses. Our horses run less frequently. Obviously, they're very, very well cared for, and they have a longevity, and typically they'll retire them to the farm.
And if folks want to, like I do, swing by some of those meets that, as I say, have the nice party atmosphere and tailgating, and you look at the pictures, they look like a lot of fun. What comes up after Saratoga? What will be available in the fall for people?
Well, we go to Belmont Park. Is the next stop right out of Saratoga in September, and then we kick off our race meet season. We start down in Shawan Downs in Maryland. The following day we're in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then we're in Virginia for a couple of weekends. And October 21st, I mentioned our big day at Far Hills, and the season ends in Charleston, South Carolina. It'll be November 12th this year.
Far Hills, how long of a drive is that from here?
It's 60 miles west of Manhattan.
Okay, so that's one people could mark on their calendar.
Absolutely.
Make the trip.
I'm going to say it's 3 hours from here.
And people can keep up with the schedule and whatnot at the National Steeplechase Association website, which is a great website just for following the sport. You have replays of all the big races, and as I say, all the information if people do want to plug into some of those events.
Great. Yeah, it is a good site.
And Bill, we appreciate your visit and a little update on the season coming up. As I say, I'm a big jump fan, so I'll be out there watching and playing and recommending playing for other folks too. I'll be handicapping the races on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of luck, but that's what it's all about. As I say, we appreciate the visit. Good luck to you and everybody on the jump side this Saratoga season.
Thank you, Seth, for having me.
All right, Bill Gallo from the National Steeplechase Association. We'll take one more break. I'll come back and say a quick goodbye right after this. Stay tuned.
When you crave it, we've got plenty of options for you. Whether it's a hearty breakfast, light lunch, or relaxing dinner, our full-service restaurant and bar will satisfy your every taste. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Don't miss the 2017 Thorofan Annual Awards Brunch with special guest speaker Donna Barton Brothers. This annual event is Saturday, August 12th at the Embassy Suites in Saratoga Springs, New York. Go to thorofan.com for tickets and information.
With more than 60 Easy Bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all Easy Bet and branch locations, visit capitalotb.com. Capital OTB. We're closer than you think.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. Bet any place, anytime at capitalotbbet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
With Saratoga's best outdoor patio, a spacious bar, and plenty of off-street parking, it's the perfect place to meet friends and relax after an exciting day at the track. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Thanks to our friend Andy Serling for stopping by. Sam Hildebrandt from Friends of Sanford Stud. Again, swing by their website, sanfordstudfarm.org. You can learn all about the history of the local racing family going back, as I say, to the beginning of the last century, and they're trying to preserve some of that history over there in Amsterdam. Again, visit the website for more information. Of course, Bill Gallo from the National Steeplechase Association. Jump season kicks off on Wednesday. All right, we've wrapped up again the first week, although it was kind of half a week, as we kicked off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and today, Monday. Been a lot of fun. We're here every racing morning at 10 o'clock for Racing Across America, 9 o'clock for the Handicappers Report. Hopefully we gave you some good ideas for this afternoon and beyond. Don't forget today, late pick four, or pick four bonus overall, early and late pick four, 2% pick four cashback bonus via your Capital Bets account. More information on the website there for requirements attached to that. But again, visit the website and do play some pick fours for your 2% cashback bonus. Here at the track, the Low Rollers contest will continue every Sunday and Monday. Swing by the carousel area. Again, it's now the 4-Star Day Bar area, but they have a sign-up table there. A lot of fun. $40 gets you in. 10 into the prize pool. You play with 30 during the day. Keep any money you make, and hopefully, excuse me, make a little money from the prize pool as well. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for the Monday edition in this first week. We'll take tomorrow off, but plenty of racing action still to come today. Make some money. We'll see you again on Wednesday morning.
You've been watching Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. And Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.